Are you ready to explore the groundbreaking intersection of somatic therapy and psychedelic-assisted healing? In today's episode, we're diving deep with insights from the legendary Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine on the sacred power and potential dangers of these transformative treatments. Join us to discover why integrating somatics is crucial for true healing and how you can stay ahead of the wave in this evolving field.
Welcome to Unscripted, your guide to discovering the various options available to you in the integrated and collaborative medicine space. I'm Janine Barandi, and I've been treating patients with acupuncture for 10 years.
And I'm Jenny Poole. I'm a trauma specialist and somatic therapist with a passion for psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy. The objective of our podcast is to explore the various care options available. Through our years of practice, we've found that different modalities can complement each other and conventional medicine.
We hope our conversations resonate and help you find the right tools and specialists for your unique needs.
We believe in an advanced care model where the doctor is not the only expert. We encourage you to embrace a mindset where your practitioners are your teammates who ultimately empower you to take control of your health.
As with every episode, this is not intended to act as medical advice, and no patient-practitioner relationship is formed from subscribing or tuning in.
I did a good job of having Peter Levine, but he was asked to be a part of all the research for legalizing MDMA and psychedelic assisted. No, Bessel.
Okay.
Bessel van der Kolk, Body Keeps Score.
Yeah.
So he's doing a ton of research on the efficacy, right, and safety of using right now MDMA. Psilocybin is in trials behind that, and then you already have ketamine. And it was so refreshing to hear him say that these spaces are these medicines can be incredibly healing. These plant medicines and this type of therapy, he's like, it also can be incredibly dangerous. And he's like, we don't use the word sacred very much anymore, but these spaces that you tread with people are sacred, and you don't know oftentimes where you're going to traverse with them. And if you don't have somatics involved, sitting somebody in a couch with an infusion and leaving them alone is dangerous. And I was like, say it louder.
Yeah.
Say it louder, Bessel, because there's a lot of people doing that with ketamine.
Yeah.
And he's like, somatics should always be involved in any kind of ketamine and or psychedelic assisted therapy. He's like, they're fundamental for keeping safety. And I was like, yes. This is one of the reasons why. He's like, that's why you guys are all here, is you're part of paving the way to make sure that somatic therapy is done and done well.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really cool.
Straight from Bessel's mouth. And he's the one doing some of the research for legalizing, MDMA for the FDA.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So
you were so excited and inspired, and like
I was
like, whoa, she is high energy today. You were just like, blah, 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 blah.
I had so many ideas and thoughts, and what was also really validating is to hear what is efficacy, like what's efficacy, what's effective using somatic tools. And I was like, literally, so many times I was like, I do that too. I'm doing the things. So I'm not behind the wave. I'm right there on top of it, riding it.
You might be in front of it.
Maybe. I didn't want to say that, but I think I might be in front of it. I've been in front of it for a while, telling people like, have somatic tools. I get when people get in front of these people, they get very excited. They are giants in the industry. They have said they have incredible, cool work out there. Really cool podcasts, really cool YouTube videos, and amazing books. But in my head, you just like, you're quiet and you listen and you learn.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who had an opportunity to work directly with right there in front of them, Peter Levine. And just instead of working with them, they're just not utilizing the opportunity as best they could because they just can't calm themselves down. And also trying to like, do you care if I say something real quick? It's like, yeah, we do care. Let Peter work.
Yeah.
Let Peter work. We're here not to hear what you have to say about anything. This is Peter's time to teach us, and you volunteered and you got picked. So let him teach us. Like I sometimes was, and then sometimes the questions I was like, oh, the line of 10 people, 15 people to ask a question. We have 45 minutes. And we would get to 2 or 3 because people would talk so long about
themselves,
the context, yes, of their question, also themselves. And eventually, I at one point, all three of them in different, maybe not Bessel, because he was just more kind of a
lecturing, watching.
just lecturing. But then there was a Q&A for Gabor and Peter, and then Peter had his own Q&A. And at one point, both of them were like, what is your question? I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but like, what is, in all of this narrative that you just gave me, like, what's your question?
That's so interesting. I think it speaks pretty loud to the fact that people really want to be seen.
Yes.
They want to be heard and regarded and acknowledged. We're so desperate for it because we're not getting that in our relationships. We used to when we didn't, hang
Gabor
out on
talked
our
about
phones all the day.
And Gabor even said, he's like, just look at your interpersonal connections, but also community connections. He's like, the community connections have faltered. He's like, we've got to get back to connecting as humanity. He's like, part of the somatic journey and somatic work is the reconnection of humanity. It was just like beautiful really witnessing and watching, like, these guys that have worked hard to pave the way. These are people that it's not like it was always easy. They had people getting up and leaving their talks because they're like, what you're teaching is dangerous, or what you're saying is not,
right.
Gabor talked a lot about physicians and medical people saying compassionate inquiry and compassionate care is dangerous in the medical field. And he's going, this is where you help people heal. I think you're such a good example of that. Your compassionate inquiry and your compassionate space that you hold while you're doing medicine.
Thank you.
It's not like, let's get you in, get you out. Needles in, needles out. Let's go.
Yeah, I wrote something down today that I thought was like right along the same lines, but it's definitely about raising the standard of care to include holistic avenues of things that work on a patient-centered basis.
Yeah.
Because not everything's going to work for every single person.
Right.
But every single person has multiple different things that will work for them.
Right.
And help them come back into homeostasis and balance and ground and be able to feel good in their bodies. Because when they feel good in their bodies, it's much easier for them to do the hard work on their mind 100%. And their spirit.
100%.
So we shouldn't just be giving pills because depression is like a condition. It's like, no, you've had things happen in your life that have been really difficult to not only have happen, but then sustain the aftermath.
And that have connected to the physical issues that are showing up. They inevitably are connected. That's one of the things that, I don't know, I have always, body, mind, spirit gets thrown around really easy. But I have always believed that just like your respiratory system is connected to your cardiovascular, they don't operate independently. It's not you're like, hey, heart, I need you to beat a few more times. And let's make sure we breathe. They act all in sync with each other. So of course your emotional body connected to your physical body, connected to your mental body, they're all working in sync. And if there's this ease, that's why with our eventual book, All Disease is Heart Disease, right? Yeah. It's you're gonna have physical connected to the emotional debris, to the mental debris, and it's going to show up in the physical body. Yeah. And if you don't listen, it gets loud. The physical body gets loud, not it's like, oh, I will hurt here then. Longer.
I think I've given the example before. I took a anatomy and physiology class when I went to school. I was actually studying nursing at the time in Miami, Florida. And this professor was, oh my gosh, unbelievable. I've never taken so many notes in my life. And he talked about how integrated each one of the systems are, and that you can't separate anything because an imbalance in one will for sure create a ripple effect and has the potential to wreck the system as a whole.
Gabor would say that he is a rarity in the medical field. He said the medical field is still way behind in compassionate care and also really understanding how interconnected, that even like in a lot of medical classes, you don't have a class dedicated to like helping people through trauma.
Right.
But what a cool experience you had that kind of instructor.
I mean, that was my medical training. Like I was going into nursing. And so that was my anatomy and physiology class in 1998, I believe it was, at Barry University. So that was my medical training.
Yeah.
And even now, if we look at, with so many people in the space, in the social media space, I think it's pretty well accepted by people who are leading the charge in really elevating the profession of medicine. They talk about biochemistry all the time. We talk about nutrition. We talk about how to tell whether you're physiologically optimized or not. And I do think that the compass is turning more towards like, hey, if you feel really good in your body, you're going to feel good in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do better. It has everything to do with sleep and nutrition and exercise and breathing well and staying hydrated,
Getting in the sun,
and even your relationships,
mm-hmm.
because your biochemistry is very, very intricately driven by so many of these factors, and your relationships being a big one of them. Because if something happens in your relationship and it throws off your emotions are directly connected to the limbic system in the brain. And that will fire off all of the biochemistry to tell you you're not safe.
Yeah.
It's time to go into fight or flight. And it doesn't matter how well you optimize your body in your daily life. If your relationships are translating to the equivalent of you're in danger,
yeah,
then it's going to wreck the whole system.
Right.
So
you're in fight or flight.
And
it's not because there's a bear in the room.
And we have scientists telling us that.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not delivered that way in medical education.
And why?
The leaps and bounds that it's going to take to change the curriculum, because the curriculum is like so set in stone. There are people that are trying to change the curriculum, and they understand, like, hey, you know what? This is pretty far outdated. We need to go to the Accreditation Commission, the Higher Learning Commission, and we need to start working on a new curriculum, because we're graduating people into the profession of medicine, and they're 20 years behind what's being published and put out there as best practice.
I'm glad people are challenging that.
Yeah. And you've got, Tony Robbins and David Sinclair and Peter Diamandis and Peter Attia and like so many other people in the podcasting space that look at this and they're like, yeah, duh.
Right.
But I got to move on, because the system that's training tomorrow's medical professionals, they're just going to have to catch up when they're on the other side of their residency.
But case in point, to my point about ketamine right now, is medical professionals are the archstone, the keystone to that arc, right? I can hold space for...
They are the gold standard.
Yeah, well, and they're the ones that have to hold the space for giving the shots and giving the infusions. I can hold space for someone that's taking a troche and do somatic work, but that's not my lane, giving shots and giving infusions.
Right.
I can do the integrative, therapy session afterward, but that's getting suggested more. But when ketamine first came out, there wasn't a lot of follow-up, like, hey, you should go talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
And that I thought was poorly done. And then not having somatic, at the least, binaural beats playing in the background when people have an infusion or something that helps the visual cortex, feeling calm.
Yeah.
And you're pulling through senses: taste, touch, smell, feel. So you can use things that smell calming, the atmosphere, what it smells, so burning Palo Santo wood.
Yeah.
Or something that feels relaxing, or getting oils and having them breathe them, right?
Yeah.
And then it's it's kinesthetic, and it's the kinesthetic. If you don't, people are like, well, I don't want to touch.
Yeah.
It's vibroacoustics. Have them the vibration of vibroacoustics going into the body.
Yeah.
Right. So the very cells are vibrating with calming theta, delta frequencies, and then it's all the other somatics that come with that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think medicine, like, do ketamine more holistically, do ketamine more safely.
Yeah.
And so today I had a client and they were really distraught. They came in, they had done Spravato 2 times, which is the nasal spray, and left alone and quiet, no binaural beats, not even a visual like TV screen, just quiet. And and they're like, I just had these trauma feelings come in, and then you have nowhere to discharge the trauma energy that starts to show up. And somatics does that. Somatics discharges the energy. And interestingly enough, this client's trauma was connected to feeling abandoned and neglected and being alone.
Jesus. And someone left them alone in a room with a psychedelic on board. Was it a medical doctor? Who? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an MD.
Yeah. So,
and that's the danger. Like it is given to them automatically within their scope of practice.
We kept their heart rate safe. We made sure their heart rate didn't spiral out of control.
Wow.
And so what we had to unwind and reclaim safety on today was I wasn't taking care of the way I wanted to as a kid. I was alone. I was alone too much. That felt like I was neglected. That felt like I didn't get the attention I needed. I didn't get the attention I needed from my caregivers. And so, but I reclaimed safety in the present moment because I'm not alone today. I have a loving partner, and I'm safe, and I can have a voice. And so we spent 90 minutes.
Wow.
I mean, reclaiming safety in the body, letting those little ones inside of him heal and realize that they weren't alone, and that what amplified that. And so this is a really good example of what a re-injury looks like under that kind of medicine rather than healing. Because had he been held, had space been held for him and somatic work been done, because at one point he was on the vibe plate and the vibration plate, that kind of shakes the body. And he was like, I'm starting to feel this build up. And I said, let the dam break. I'm here. You're safe. I got you. And sobbing. He was sobbing, and just letting go. I said, it's safe to unpack, it's safe to unwind, you're safe now. It's okay to reclaim safety. We just spent a lot of time, and this is with no ketamine on board. Sometimes they'll do the troches, and he's like, I need a break from that. I said, we need to reclaim safety. We need to get you regrounded. And I'm just going to say it. That should be a conversation that's had 100% of the time when someone's going to do psychedelic assisted therapy and or ketamine therapy is, if we're going to do this, how do we make sure that you feel not just physically safe by monitoring your heart rate, but that you feel held and safe in the somatic environment, set and setting, and that afterward, we make sure that you've reclaimed safety that day, but then also later. So we're going to have a follow-up. Hey, how are you doing? You feeling like you were able to reclaim safety in the present moment?
Yeah.
And if not, let's get you back in here and let's keep doing more somatic work.
Yeah.
To slough off the trauma energy. It doesn't just recirculate.
And when we talked about this trend, this overarching trend of how manifests and raises its ugly head in the process of, or even the wake of, cognitive decline. I've had a lot of people say, my brother's in home care, or he's in long-term care. He's got dementia, and they've had to sedate him because he's gotten mean. He's gotten really mean. And I'm like, try to have compassion, okay? Because this is a soul whose container has deteriorated to the point where it can no longer contain the volume of trauma that has not only gone unaddressed his entire life, but it's been amplified by re-injuries, anything that comes in from any direction that might stoke or re-injure that fire.
Yeah.
And all we do, and all we've ever learned to do, is stuff it down, suck it up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, dry your tears, keep a stiff upper lip, all the bullshit we've been told our entire lives. That's this culture. And that's what's unwinding here. That's what is coming apart and unraveling.
Yeah.
Is this culture of adults and elders who are, we're looking at them and saying, oh my God, they're just mean. And it's like, no, they're hurting.
Yeah.
They are living through some of the most trying times.
Well, they just can't contain it anymore.
War, hunger, survival.
Yeah.
And now we're this ungrateful age who's kind of looking at our elders and saying, well, I don't care if you leave me any money in your will. I got my own money. Go rot away in a home somewhere. Mm-hmm. Mean grandpa. And it's like, can we see the forest for the trees? Maybe a little bit. Like, these were different times that these people lived through, and they never got permission to be in a role where it was their job to make sure they felt good and felt safe and
Oh,
had enough.
I mean,
And look at us.
right. Mental health 50 years ago.
No such thing.
Yeah.
No.
40 years ago, 30 years
Yeah.
ago. You know what? And maybe this is, it would be interesting to see like some actual hard data on this, but I don't know if mental health was probably getting more respected in the last 10 years, but after COVID, it became alarmingly clear that what isolation and fear and chaos does to a population of people. And it was like, we all have to take better care of our mental health, and mental health matters, and mental health needs to be a priority. And oh my gosh, businesses, we need to make sure that we're having mental health days for our
now companies.
I didn't hear about mental health days until after that. My son will sometimes be like, Mom, can I have a mental health day? I'm like, you getting good grades? He's like, yeah. I'm like, sure. You have a mental health day? Yeah, absolutely. You have a break? And so, you know, like you said, case in point, it's so important. Those just are important pieces to, like, the forest before the trees, right? Is to say, right, you're hurting. And it doesn't mean that you can't be sometimes frustrated by being treated poorly. You don't have to be like, oh, whatever. But it's okay to see, like, hey, underneath this is somebody who's been incredibly wounded and has had no place to put this. And it needs to go somewhere, Janine. If there's one thing I've learned about somatic work, is that you have to untangle, you have to unbind, you have to unencumber. If you don't, it reminds me of like almost those jellyfish tendrils, right? They just get in and they start anchoring into the body, and you have to unwind and untangle that. Like the discharging that this client did today wasn't just the vibe plate. At one point on the sound table there was movement, and Bessel will say that. Bessel van der Kolk will say, you don't get through trauma and work through trauma with talking about it. You get it through movement. That's one of the reasons he's such a big proponent of yoga.
Yeah, Peter Levine, I think it's his book. He says the best thing you can do for somebody who's been in a car accident, if they get on your stretcher and they're the back of your ambulance and they start to shake, let them shake.
Yes.
They're shaking it off. They're literally shaking it off. Yep. What happens in nature when a bunny rabbit escapes its prey or its predator?
They go shake.
They go shake it off. They bound, they wail, they cry, and they get it out because they were in danger and now they're safe. And so we have the inclination to do that too. And if you think about how we sob, you know, when we finally get to that place when we sob, and you just guttural. Imagine, you can feel your body shake and you sweat, and you get hot and everything comes up, and you when you really let your voice be heard, you cry, you wail.
Yeah, and the sob is vibrational.
It is.
It's that deep guttural.
You're jarring your body.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah. And that's what I witnessed today was a deep sob. Good. And even the breathing that we did at times was like the vibration in the voice, like the unpacking, the unwinding. And I do think that everyone, and medical doctors included, medical people that work with human beings, need somatic tools.
Oh my gosh. They need the experience of it. I wish, I don't know, man. I wish I could put something together that would just go into every medical system and say, hey, this is what somatic therapy looks like. Come on in, because you know why? You just got through medical school.
Yeah.
You just got through whatever, like any level of management, any level of employee is going through something. The vast majority of us, like very few people, then there are some, because I do have some people walk into my clinic and say, and when I ask them, okay, have you had any physical or psychological traumas? And they'll say, no, you know what? My life has been pretty good. I've never had a car accident. I've never had any kind of aggressive blow to my physical body. Maybe I lost a pet, or I had a broken heart in high school. But aside from that, life has been really good. Very few people can say that.
Yeah.
So my dream is that we have this program that's like, hey, docs, come on in and just participate. We want you to see what this looks like when patients go through mental health therapy.
Yeah.
Because it's a powerful, transformative process. And the process of getting through medical school, and I've seen it, I've watched these kids, they fall apart.
It's intense.
the sleepless nights,
the rigor,
the
academic rigor,
the mental fake out
the
of
stress,
your boards.
yeah.
Are you gonna get matched for your like what you want to do with your life now that you've put yourself through this very rigorous program? Every one of them needs it.
Mm-hmm.
From medical school alone. Forget going into
as a part of your first
the
year of medical school.
I know.
You guys have to all be in therapy.
Yep. Well, that was built into my training, actually.
Good. I'm glad they said that.
Phenomenal. One of my mentors, I'll never forget, Bob Duggan. He was like, so your job is to be with people in their most vulnerable state. They're coming to you for help. And in that, you leave your stuff at the door.
So go tend to your stuff.
And
other places.
So yes, use the next 3 years. Every single week, you're going to come to Sophia for the next 3 years, and you are going to work on your stuff. You're going to challenge your constructs. You're going to look your prejudices in the face, and you're going to make sure that no matter what horror story walks into your office, you are an open line of healing to that person.
You need like 100 of those guys.
Yeah. His teaching was very powerful. It was, I mean, we're still...
that guy was ahead of his time. Look at how much he was supporting mental health inside the medical community.
Yeah. We did have quite a few people challenge him because the scope of acupuncture doesn't include mental health, right?
Yeah.
But if we're working with the physical body and we're working with the energy, which we are, it's impossible to separate the energy from the emotions.
Well, yeah, Jenny, that's why you send me people because they need mental health support along with the medicine that you give them.
Yeah.
With the acupuncture.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about collaborative medicine.
I know.
And why are people so sometimes, again, you see it more and more. The collaborations that I'm starting to see are incredible and really cool. But why did it take so long to do some really amazing collabs in the realm of medicine and mental health and also physical wellness, longevity?
Because we are taught to be competitive. That is very deeply interwoven
that
into
is true.
our culture.
That's well said.
As Americans, we're taught to be competitive. You have to be right. You have to be
the only expert.
You have to know your information, and you have to be quick. You have to beat everyone to the punch because the top of the ladder is where you want to be. And if you're not at the top of the ladder, then you're not good enough. That's what we've been taught.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for sure, like, I definitely can look back on some of my times in my professional roles, and I was constantly strategizing. How do I be better? How do I be smarter? How do I be faster? How do I beat her?
I was going to say,
to the top.
Because you can do that for yourself, but then there was that last piece you just said, but how can I beat her? So you can do all those things to compete with self, but then there was that, and I also have to beat her or him or them.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because if you look at from an abundance perspective, it's not that is there if enough abundance for everyone. There literally is enough room in the sun for everyone.
Yeah.
But we get really, really kind of microscopic.
Yeah.
I go, no, I have to beat you. I have to beat this over here. I have to be the best. It's like, can you be the best and have 10 other people be the best too?
Totally.
Can we all be the best?
What if you were integral in making sure that those 10 other people became the best? I mean, perhaps that is your measure of your success.
Because the irony
can it be that way?
Yeah. Because the irony is if you're the best, you can't serve 8 billion people.
Nope.
So you need other bests.
Yeah, I know.
You need a lot of other bests. So there's plenty of work for every genre, and so it just. I'm glad you brought that up because I do think there's beauty in being competitive with yourself and wanting to excel, and being excellent is a beautiful thing, but being kind of shitty competitive with each other instead of just being like you're the best and I'm the best and we all can be the best and there's enough clients for you, there's enough clients for me, and we're all going to be just fine. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people to heal and help. I'm not going to I always tell people, even during COVID, I stayed really busy. They're like, are you ever worried? And I was like, no, I will always be busy.
Yeah.
Because I know how to help people. and I will be able to keep helping people.
It's such a good thing. And we were told this a lot in acupuncture school. Like, somebody is going to come to you because they want the medicine that you provide.
Your skills.
Your medicine. They don't want another acupuncturist's acupuncture. They want Janine's acupuncture.
Yes. And Janine, your clients are such a good representation of that, because they feel so well cared for.
Cool.
They just have beautiful things to say.
Thank you.
Oh, I love Janine. I'm like, very lovable. And it's the way that you hold space. You have people that are like, hey, you're here and let's help you. And then you have people that you're like, hey, you're here. I really care about you. And let's get you as healthy and happy as possible. And you believe it because it's authentic. It's not just like, hey, and then who's next?
Yeah. My favorite conversation to have with people is they're like, well, what to expect kind of thing. And I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I can offer you this and that. I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'm going to book out a few appointments for you because I'm busy and I really want to I want to be able to get you in consecutive weeks, because I have every confidence that I can help you with what's going on. And if I can't help you, if you don't notice a change by week 4, I'm going to help you find someone else that can help you.
Yes.
Because that's how much it means to me for you to feel better.
Yeah.
And if you're not feeling better under my care, sure as shit, I'm going to help you find somebody who can.
Yeah.
Because that's what it means to me. It doesn't mean anything for me to keep collecting money. That's a positive byproduct that allows me to continue to have a livelihood.
Sure.
But the real thing that we're talking about here is your health and your ability to return to that state that allows you to do the things that you love and show up in your relationships and be a contributing member to society. And the list goes on and on. How do you design your life? And that's my job, is to help you get back to that. And if I can't do it, I'm not going to keep taking your money.
Here are 3 other people that possibly can. But Janine, sometimes it's just not like that, right? And that's what I love about how your clients talk about you, is you can't fake authenticity. You really can't. It gets teased out one way or the other. And if people really believe that you care, then they are so much more workable. And I think that they allow for a better space of healing. Like, I really feel like I'm in a good space here.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wish I could have recorded what happened tonight, because the level of distress was at like a 9 or 10, and the client left at a 1. And I was like, if you need to come back in sooner than later, let's not wait. Like, we have an appointment Thursday, but I was like,
I will get you
slough off more if we need to. And it's been really interesting, because I've had now a few clients that have been like, well, I'm going to pivot and just do Spravato. I want to pivot and just go do infusions. And it's interesting because everyone's having a different medium for how this is just ketamine, just one layer of it, right?
Yeah.
But all of those that have started with me and then wanted to kind of just try other ways are like, I need the somatics. I need the somatics.
Well, they need
to help me feel safe. Well, and I will say this, sure, I'm not the only one that can do somatics, and more people need to do somatic work. More people need to have somatic tools so that people, and I will keep saying, because Bessel is such a giant. If you don't listen to me, listen to him. He said, you don't move trauma energy by talking about it. There is a place to tell your story and to feel heard, validated, seen, and understood.
Yeah.
If you really want to move trauma energy off the body, you have got to get the body moving, tremoring, vibrating, shaking. Yeah. And that's why vibroacoustics are so powerful, and binaural beats. Yeah. I can't believe how many times I'm like, did you at least listen to binaural beats? No. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Why? Those are easy to put on. Just play them on your phone.
Yeah. It harkens back to primitive medicine too.
Yeah.
And what we still see in the Amazon today with the shamans and ayahuasca ceremonies, and the sacred sounds that they're able to channel.
As we wrap, we're just getting started on our exploration of ancient wisdom in modern times. We're excited to invite you to our next episode, where we'll dive deeper into different plant medicines and its benefits. Join us as we uncover how these ancient practices, when combined with somatics, can lead to holistic healing and trauma recovery. Next week's continuation you won't want to miss if you have ever been curious about using psychedelics as a part of your healing journey.
Thank you for joining us on Unscripted. I'm Jenny Poole.
And I'm Janine Borandi.
We hope you found today's discussion as inspiring and insightful as we did. If you have any questions, comments, or stories you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you.
Connect with me on Instagram at The Acupuncturist.
And you'll find me on social media at Mend Counseling Center.
Until next time, remember that the best gift you can give to those you love is the gift of your own good health.